And welcome back to another week of the Big Red at the B Schneid Show. We're starting up 2 shows a week now. We're going to give our recap of Nebraska's 59 to 7 victory over Houston Christian. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're up to 65 subscribers. A couple months ago, I was at 40. So let's reach that goal of 100 by November and shoot us your comments your way. Jim, what was your initial impression?
I think my initial impression overall, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I think this is going to be a pretty decent football team, maybe a good football team. If it's all dependent upon how the defensive line gels, including the starters and the second stringers, because you got to have some rotations in there. I think you're going to have enough offense to win most of your games. Secondary is performing well, and the linebackers are performing well. And the second team, not second team, the special teams are way better than last year.
Yeah, you mentioned two
So that's where
units
I'm at.
that right now Pro Football Focus has Nebraska's special teams unit as a whole ranked #1 in the country, and Nebraska's secondary is the first in the country in pass yards per game allowed. They were #2 behind Minnesota entering the game at 65.5 yards per game, and I believe they allowed another 65 yards. So there's two units right there that are the clear strengths leading the country right now. And who would have thought this time last year that Nebraska's special teams through 3 games would be ranked #1 in the country overall?
Well, the fascinating part of this is how it took 2 years, going on 3 now, for Coach Rule to be drug into kicking and screaming into having a special teams coach, and kind of eliminating some of his buddies that he had at other positions. But I think he's done some improvement. I don't know that he wanted to, but I think he's had to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed. And Rule talked today. We're on record this on Monday, and he said 2 things that he doesn't like right now is obviously the kickoffs that are going out of bounds. They've done it at least once each time in each of the first 3 games. And then he also brought up Nebraska's red zone efficiency inside the 5. They're 6 of 9 on the season in regards to punching it in the end zone. That is not a good percentage. He likes their percentage of overall 69%, that they're shooting for 70 to punch it in the end zone. Well, but it went inside the 5. That's really the kryptonite right now, and it's pathetic.
Yeah. So we kind of have to. I think the play calling wasn't very creative on a couple of those. Little predictability against some inferior opponents. So I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. And by golly, I guess this week we're going to be able to see.
Yeah, Jim, I got to ask you. We got the wrong image up there right now. What'd you think of the All Reds as a lifelong Husker fan, as a baby boomer?
Uh, you know, I'm kind of a traditional type guy. So,
Might not be the best image to show
but I don't
the
really,
All Reds.
it's not, because you don't see any red pants.
There we go.
Yeah, looks a little bit like Indiana or something like that, or Rutgers. I don't know. I think the worst uniform I ever saw, worst football game I ever saw as far as colors goes, was Wyoming playing Colorado State, and Wyoming was all brown and Colorado State was all green. It looked like some grasshoppers out there moving on the field. So,
Yeah, well, the players liked them. I thought they were pretty sharp. I think that'd be something to rotate in the wardrobe once a year. But yeah, while we're talking, of course, I'll go back to this image. Dylan Raiola, over 222 pass yards once again, in just one half a play. And that was really the whole story of both units. When I was grading them, each unit, I know the score wasn't as drastic and the total yardage wasn't, but I thought Nebraska's first team played a better first half than they did in the previous week against Akron.
I would agree. And in your lifetime, I'm going to ask something. Me being a gummer, um, do you ever remember Nebraska getting that many players in the game like we have the last two?
Well, the first Nebraska football game I had ever been to was 2012, I believe. They played Idaho State and they beat them 73 to 3 or 7. Um, and I think it was 73 to 7. And I remember in the second quarter, they pulled Martinez and put in Ron Kellogg. So I do kind of remember that, but back-to-back weeks of at least 100 players playing, 108 against Akron, 100 against Houston Christian, and that was huge. And that's something Isaiah Mosey talked after the game, and I asked him, I said, how these past 2 weeks from where you were in week 1, these past 2 weeks to the amount of playing time you've got to build his confidence. He said, yeah, really, I think it's got players like that ready for conference play.
Well, I think this is, I can't remember back to back this many players getting in the game for at least up until probably the Bo Pelini stuff.
Yeah. Well, and an interesting stat. So if Nebraska would have scored 60 points, which they got stopped on the dang goal line in the fourth quarter, again, but uh, if they would have scored 60 again, it would have been the first time since 1907 that Nebraska had back-to-back 60 plus point performances.
Well, um, uh, during a lot of the Osborne era, they could have.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of my thing when I was grading them. I said, Nebraska did its job. Now they gave up a 45-yard run, but I thought defensively, I thought that Nebraska was stuffing the run better. Now it is Houston Christian, I get that, but I thought the technique was noticeably improved from week 1, and I know we saw a little bit of it on week 2, but I still wasn't sold. Now after that, because I mean, it was minimized, is all I was thinking, and I think you saw some guys take steps up, and I want to talk about this guy. I know it was a pass play, but Riley Van Poppel. I mean, Williams Nwaneri scores a touchdown, but Riley Van Poppel with a sack. That's something been looking for kind of all year, and his pass rush grade's been showing promise on Pro Football Focus. So,
Well, it's funny that we talked about him last week, and we had some questions of why he hadn't moved up the chart and why he wasn't doing any things. And I think you made some speculations that I wouldn't do. But anyway, new area or whatever, he
yeah,
does
well,
is looking like he's going to be able to be a player.
yeah, I mean, when he was running that ball in the end zone, I got flashbacks from when I was a younger
You know,
kid watching Nebraska. Yeah, right here. Well, when I was watching Nebraska play, I think I said Florida Atlantic after the game, but I think it was South Dakota State where he had a pick six. But watching that size defensive lineman running the ball into the end zone, um, that was interesting to see.
hmm.
As you was saying about Winery, and I mean finding the end zone.
Yeah, the this we're I think we're watching the maturity of at least one, two, three, um, three defensive linemen that have a lot of potential.
Yeah,
New very redshirt freshman.
there were some technical difficulties with Jim's connection, but as you were saying about Williams Winery being a redshirt freshman, go on ahead.
Right, and Riley Van Poppel, who's a sophomore, and then you got the kid Cade from North Dakota. I think you got some defensive linemen here with a lot of potential and a lot of continuity that's gonna last into the next at least 3 years, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, Petchak, Winery are two surprises. I mean, Winery, I was thinking he was going to have a breakthrough season. Actually, I know a lot of people were thinking he wouldn't be ready, but I was, yeah, he's going to be playing. Um, But yeah, I wasn't expecting Pet Shock to necessarily make a mark like he has, and both of those guys are going to be key factors. I've actually been impressed with Cam Lenhart as well, fit in the run. I'm still not impressed with Elijah Judy. I'm not sold on him. And Nebraska released its week 4 depth chart, and it didn't change anything. They still have Judy listed as the one, but I think that we're going to find out a lot this weekend. And I think that by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, you're going to be seeing those Pet Shocks, the Van Poppels. We haven't seen much from Keona Davis the past couple of weeks, but it might be just more so to get other guys reps. But those guys are huge.
Well, as I said, as this defensive line matures, that's going to be as the way the team goes, is my belief.
Oh, 100%. And we could talk about the great secondary. I mean, Zaire Wright slides into the nickel position, and this season he's been targeted 4 times and only allowed 1 pass for 4 yards. So that just goes to show you how much respect he's got from opponents for his coverage ability. And when they even try, he ain't giving up anything.
Right. Well, so overall, you asked for an overall deal on the team. I think we pretty much covered it. Offense is going to be good enough to score enough points to win for the most part, and defensive line controlling the line of scrimmage to at least limit the run. We're back.
Yeah, no. Oh, you're buffering again. Well, and you bring up the offense. Now, I thought a new number 2 running back emerged. And Quentin Ives, I know he was playing in mop-up duty for the
I do
most part,
too.
but still, he had 85 yards, and the holes were huge to run through. But he's the only other back I've seen this year take the ball and run downhill. And we didn't even see Mekhi Nelson. Rule said he didn't play because it was a coach's decision. Said the game got out of hand and they wanted to have some younger guys play. But I don't see why he wouldn't be the number 2 back.
Quentin Ives or McKay?
Mekhi, or yeah, his name's Mekhi, but
Who
Quentin
are you
Ives.
speaking of?
I don't see Quentin Ives. I think he is Nebraska's number 2 back right now. I know on the
Absolutely.
depth chart they still have him listed as a number 4 running back. I feel like they didn't update that at all. Well, they didn't. It's the same as last week's. But I think what he needed to do is build him some confidence. And yeah, he's not an elusive back by any means, and he ain't necessarily great at running downhill and getting guys yards after contact. But still, I haven't seen any other of the backs do anything other than Emmett Johnson, of course.
Right.
And that's my biggest concern when it comes to the Nebraska's offense outside of their red zone efficiency. So a guy would hope that Quentin Ives this weekend, I think if he could even give Nebraska 5 carries for 20 yards, that would be huge.
The other thing about the offense that has kind of been a pleasant deal to me, and that is the performance of Van Eve, whatever, second string quarterback.
Lateef?
Lateef. There we go. I mean,
There he is.
that guy can play.
Yeah. I mean, he's got that dual threat ability, and it makes a guy wonder because I don't think Nebraska's planning on redshirting him. Because nowadays you don't redshirt guys. Maybe he's a guy you bring inside the 10-yard line in situational football stuff. Because nothing against Dylan, he's playing out of his mind, and I think let the Heisman campaign begin for him right now if he keeps up his play. But you could bring in a guy like Lateef inside the 5-yard line, run some zone read, some speed option, run some RPOs that brings another element of a running threat. So that's something to look into. And another guy you could maybe you try doing direct snaps to Heinrich Harburg for him to jump in the end zone. I don't know.
It seems like they tried to use Harburg more this week than they did last. Do you agree?
He had a catch. I still am. I'm still a little bit in awe when it comes to Heinrich Harburg and Carter Nelson that they haven't been utilized much in the passing game. Carter Nelson has yet to get a catch,
Right.
and he was a guy that people have always been high on. So that is a concern. Luckily, Luke Lindemeyer is performing out of his mind. Last week, I think he only had 1 or 2 catches, but uh, I don't know. I think the biggest concern is maybe they, instead of trying to have 4 guys push Heiner Carberg in the end zone, that ain't working clearly. Maybe they put him direct snap or something, or have him beside Raiola, because you can do some different things, but try to just not be too cute. Nebraska, what I've noticed is sometimes they'll go down there and they'll try to throw it and be cute. Then there'll be a time where they'll just try to power it in. Well, it's just not working.
I don't see Dana being quite as cute as his previous or his predecessor, and outthinking the game. I think it seems to me that he's willing to go with what the other team, what the defense is willing to give him,
Yeah, and
rather than sticking to a script.
Yeah, well, and I think you see that. I mean, I thought Dylan Raiola is both his touchdown passes to Dane Key and Ja'Cory Barney, each were just phenomenal RPO reads, because he pulled that ball and slung it out there. That was Barney's first career touchdown reception. Actually,
I do think now, if we're gonna hand out ribbons and stuff at the fair. I do think that Dylan gets to be criticized on missing some very open players, and then also throwing the hospital ball a little late. I think it was to Isaiah. So he saw him way too late, and then threw it into triple coverage where he got it.
I'll tell you what, though, when it comes to Dylan, he's completing 76% of his passes right now.
Yes, I would agree. Well, I can't argue that. That's a statistic.
Yeah, I really think he's protecting the football right now. I know against Cincinnati, he should have thrown probably a pick 6, but other than that, he is performing pretty well. He's missed some guys, and he's got still a ways to go to become maybe that top 5 quarterback in the country. But right now, he's performing at the top of the conference in the Big Ten.
Not going to argue. You win ball games.
I'll tell you what. I think this weekend, though, we're going to see Emmett Johnson only played the first half. It's kind of a cool picture. All these photos are from Nebraska's athletics gallery from post game. But Emmett Johnson averages another 6 yards per carry. Didn't get the 100 yards, but he only played the first half. I think this weekend, when Nebraska takes on Michigan, you're going to see such a heavy dose of him.
Yeah. Well, and I think our offensive line this year is way better than I've seen it in probably at least 6 years.
Can't disagree with that. In terms of that Nebraska's best play right now when running the football is in that single back set where they pull Heiner Carberg to have him kick out the defensive end.
You know, we were noticing something else. Your grandma and I were, and was pointing it out. They're running 2 tight end sets quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of 12 personnel.
So I kind of like that. And it becomes a very strong running set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about it, I believe, on the show last week before the game, that Nebraska, or I really like the look of pulling Heiner Carberg with his speed.
Yes.
And Lindenmeyer.
I don't want anybody. You want anybody 6'4" and 240, 245 running at you and having a full head of steam running at you? I don't think that's a good deal as a defender.
Well, some of them might be bigger than Harburg that he's running into, but he's got the size to be effective. Yeah, I agree. But overall, when you look ahead at Michigan right now, it's Monday, but what are some lingering issues that really concern you that maybe we haven't talked about?
Lingering issues. we didn't monopolize the time of possession against either of these last two, especially the last one. And you wouldn't think so because we scored so damn quick. I think we're going to have to at least stay even, if not monopolize 60% of the time on the clock with our offense to keep the defense off the field. That's going to be that means running game.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from. I have a different perspective. I think Nebraska has a magic number to hit this weekend to win the football game.
Okay.
I think 27 points gives Nebraska a win because Michigan, they are 15th in the country in rushing offense. Against Central Michigan, which is another lower tier opponent, they beat 63-3 on Saturday. They rushed for 381 yards, though. So I think that if Nebraska can jump out early and get a couple scores, obviously the defense is going to have to get some stops. But if you can make Michigan attempt to throw the football, Nebraska, I think, will be in a better situation. That's why I think the points, they got to get on them quick. Because you don't want to see a third quarter or third and fourth quarter where Michigan's running the football, controlling the possession.
Boy, we buffered a lot on that one.
I buffered. Well, oh, yeah.
Well, you think 27 points is going to be enough? It should be if Nebraska's got any strength. Our defense should be able to hold a team like Michigan under 30. But you're going with 27. Man, we're getting into the fine lines. This is where a field goal or a safety or whatever is what makes this. I'm confident in our special teams right now in not blowing the ball game. Yeah, I know kicking the ball out of bounds on a kickoff gives somebody 10 yards. Yeah, but we're not doing stupid stuff like bad snaps and things like that. So I don't think our special teams is going to lose us a ball game.
You do bring up snaps. I noticed some lower snaps from Justin Evans to Raiola on Saturday.
I did too. Yes.
There were a couple times, and that you can't have that when a team like Michigan rolls town. I know, and Michigan's without their head coach, but I don't even know if he wore the cutoff sleeves against the last game he coached. I need to check that out. But he likes to. You'd like his wardrobe.
Yeah, it would fit me. You think I'd just kind of get in there with the
He
tan line?
Well, yeah, he cuts off his sleeves, cuts a V and a T-shirt, and then wears a visor. So it makes Bill Belichick look dressed nice.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
I'm just kidding with you.
I ain't worried
But
about it. The low snaps though, that's better. Cam Jurgens, who's now an All-Pro center. I mean, that guy had high snap after high snap. I don't see how. I mean, you got to have about a 6'8" vertical to catch some of his snaps. So I think the low snaps were better.
Yeah, I guess. I forgot about that. But anyway, so looking at the current spread right now, they have Michigan as a 2.5-point favorite. Michigan is ranked number 21 in the AP poll, 20th in the coaches poll. I tend to go off the coaches poll more, but that's beyond the point. Over under right now is 44.5. So right now they're probably projecting around a 24-20 Michigan win, or well, no, that'd be about a 23-21 Nebraska or Michigan win, right around there, right around there. And I think that's why that'd be the magic number for Nebraska is 27, or another thing that could support my case. Get to 27 points, I think Nebraska wins the game.
Okay, the odds pickers are going after this, and we're going to see. This will be a fun one. Then we're going to see if Matt Rule and the Cornhuskers can win a close one, because this will be a 3-pointer. Let's see if we can win the damn thing.
Well, Nebraska did it in week 1. They did it in week 1. So,
well, we're yeah. Let's see if we can do it. I don't know. We're going to have a lot, like we talked about. We're going to have a lot more answers after this game than we ever have.
well, do you want? We don't know if you're going to do the preview show on Thursday yet, but would you want to drop a prediction now? I'll drop mine. I'm set in stone with mine right now. I'll drop it on Monday.
I love that wording. Yeah, I'm going to go with I don't want to be a homer. I'm going to go with about a 24-28 Michigan victory.
Okay, and I could see that. I think that is a very big possibility. And looking at you think that Michigan's just going to run the football down Nebraska's defensive front throat in the fourth quarter?
Yep.
Or that's what you're predicting. And I've gone back and forth thinking, okay, well, this and that. I think that Nebraska beats Michigan. I'm predicting it today, 27-24. I think that Nebraska gets the marquee win, and if they win on Saturday, then the playoff talk starts in Lincoln. If they lose,
if we win this game, it will be. If we win this game, now here's one for you. It will be on the back of Archie.
the back of Archie, the Aussie.
Yes.
Oh, he should get a play this week. Yeah. Oh, you're mocking Rule right now. You're mocking Rule.
I'm
right?
not mocking anybody. I'm just trying to be competitive with the dialect.
No. Well, last week I believe you had Nebraska winning. It was around what, 45 to what?
I was in the 50s. I said low 50s.
Yeah, you didn't give a stern answer. What's the spread?
I said low 50s and they'll score 7. So hey, buddy, I'm about as good as I can get.
Yeah, well, 2 people can't pick Michigan. That's why I picked Nebraska. But like I said, the spread, I think it's going to be tight. But this is a matter of getting at Magic 27. I think Nebraska can get there, but we'll see. So anyway,
if I don't appear this later this week, do note that we're going to be broadcasting from at least partially from Lake of the Ozarks next week, and I will have my gear on.
Yeah, hopefully Lake of the Ozarks provides better Wi-Fi, but if not, we can maybe try to get him on a phone call or something into the studio. But yes, we look forward to hearing from Jim. If not later this week.
Anyway, and the volleyball team is doing very, very good. And kudos to Danny.
And Jim is buffering. Nope. Jim, are you there?
Cut her off.
No, I didn't cut her off yet.
Yeah,
We're
I'm still here.
alive. Yeah, you mentioned the volleyball team. But anyway, I'm Bobby Schneider. We'll be back later this week.